Unfortunately, this year, we couldn't do the Zanzibar Tourism Show because of Corona. Why we did the Zanzibar Tourism Show, Your Excellency? Because we were spending too much money going to Germany, going to London, going to Dubai, going everywhere to advertise, while the real sand, the real sun, the real beach, the real aroma, the real spices, the real attraction was here in Zanzibar. So we said, percentage will go abroad to advertise, but percentage will ask the buyers to come and see it for themselves. And I'm glad to say we were quite successful. We increased the number of buyers, and this show, Zanzibar Tourism Show, became very successful and popular internationally. So I hope this will continue during your time as well, Your Excellency, inshallah, after you win. I'm sure you will win, inshallah. Another area that we were facing challenge with all the tourism stakeholders, they were investing heavily in Zanzibar, but every one of them was promoting their own individual product, not destination. You can see a good example there. Park Hyatt, luxury is personal. That is promoting a product, because we are today sitting inside the product. But it would have been very beautiful if there was an image of Zanzibar below that logo of Park Hyatt, because Park Hyatt is all over the world. You agree with me, right? So what we innovated now, we're working together with these good people around this room to do joint marketing, joint advertising, joint promotion for that destination, which includes and packages their product together. With that, we can go far beyond. The number of hotels increased in Zanzibar. Now we have 509 hotels altogether, with 32 five-star, recognized five-stars hotel. I'm sure all the 5 stars are here. Can you raise your hand, please? 5 stars. Oh, wonderful, wonderful. A lot of hands, Your Excellency, around this room of 5 stars. So this is one of the areas that we've been doing quite well, but we need to do more work. And from my side, as a minister responsible of tourism, I must admit we need to do more. Challenges. Our main challenge, number one, is statistics. Statistics. I believe, personally, even 538 is very little. I think we need more. And I'll tell you why, Excellency, because we don't have systems in place to collect statistics. When an aircraft lands, there is a manifest in the flight. There is manifest for scheduled flight, and there is also manifest for charter flights. That is one source of statistics that government is collecting currently. Another statistics is the immigration card that you fill in. Is the second part of statistics. We collect where you are going to stay, which hotel you are going to stay, are you tourist, not tourist, returning resident, are you going to be at home, not home? That is another source of statistics. Another third source of statistics is the visa itself, because your visa declares what type of visitor you are, if a tourist or working or whatever. Also, that is the third source of statistics. Unfortunately, whenever we compare all these statistics, we never get the same. So there are problems in statistics, and the committee was formed by Dr. Ali Mohammed Sheikh, which the Minister of Finance is a chairperson on statistics. So the best statistics was December last year that we could get. Antonella will agree with me on this, because Antonella is one of the biggest charter flight operators. She has got several charter flights, and she's here in this room, and she brings approximately 66,000 tourists to Zanzibar directly through her charter flights from Italy, Milan, direct. So she will agree with me on the statistics issue. That was one of our main challenges, which we still need to work on as a government collectively, together with the stakeholders. Another part was the statistics in the hotels themselves. Before, I'm sure all of you were facing problems of ZRB coming to knock your doors, right? They were coming to knock doors counting visitors. But that problem has gone now. We had that problem. When I entered, it was a very difficult moment, because every investor was complaining on collecting data. But now we have these electronic gadgets everywhere to collect data. So that is another source of data. But another area that also we face a challenge and we need to work on together is now during this corona time. Because each individual is working separately. I always quote that famous saying, if you hang around together, you'll never be hanged. If you hang around separately, you'll all be hanged. So we have a challenge during this corona period of working together, and we are trying very hard to bring them together. But other challenges are issues of ZRB, little bit, TRA, on a tax regime, which need to be clarified, and this time our Minister of Finance tried very hard to remove some of these levies, which I'm sure they will speak about. They are quite happy, and if they are not happy, they will speak here, but we worked very hard to remove some of these regimes and coordinate together. But another area is branding. We need to do joint branding. Zanzibar is a unique destination. We need to do joint branding. Currently, every one of them is doing their own branding. You can see Park Hyatt. And Park Hyatt has a chain of global hotels. We have also Melia around this room. They have a chain of global hotels all over. There are many chains. There's DoubleTree. There are many of these brand names now that we can access as a brand to go globally. And for my last point today, I know there will be more from Mr. Graham Leslie, who is our consultant. I've already introduced him to the guest of honor, but he will do a better introduction than myself. We have formed a branding committee in Zanzibar. We involved local stakeholders, foreign stakeholders, those who have got major brands around the world to form a Zanzibar brand. But we need to do a lot of work before that brand gets to an international arena. And this is a challenge that we have to work on ahead. Currently, the world needs confidence, trust, and faith in us in order to come back post-corona, which we are working on. And the final point I will admit myself as a minister, we need also to increase the capacity of our regulator. Capacity of our regulator to serve the tourism industry. I must admit, Your Excellency, in front of you, that the tourism industry, these people around you, have grown so fast technologically, marketing-wise, sales-wise, quality-wise, service-wise, than our regulator. So the regulator has to run behind them. And the best mechanism is the regulator to be ahead of them, because the regulator is regulating the industry. So we need to increase the capacity of our regulator, and we have that in our plan. So with these few words said, I just touched the tip of the discussions that we'll continue with. I would like now to welcome, after me is Transformative Sustainable Tourism Development Plan for Zanzibar. Why we put this in our presentation? Because it is as per our policy, it is as per our manifesto, it is as per the Blue Economy, CCM manifesto. It is as per the Blue Economy blueprint document, which was established, which has formed part of the CCM manifesto. It is as per the CCM manifesto of reaching 850,000 tourists by the year 2025. And this is good quality tourists. This is high expenditure, high spending power of tourists. We put this because we have worked with Graham very closely also with our vision 2050, which each ministry and each stakeholders was required to provide to the government. Graham Stewart Leslie is the CEO of Zamani Heritage Regeneration Program. We've worked on different areas in Zanzibar. We worked on several projects in Zanzibar, including Serena at that time, the House of Wonder, currently reviving several buildings which are Grade A UNESCO in Zanzibar, to revive them, to have their glorious value, to attract more tourism. Without saying much, after him will come the challenges directly from the business sector, from the Zanzibar tourism industry, which will be presented by Javed Jafarji, who happens also to be the Commissioner for Tourism and co-founder of the Zanzibar Tourism Show. So with these few words said, I hope I've set the platform for the later discussion. So I would like to welcome Graham Stuart Leslie for your presentation. And I can see, I'm supposed to be a moderator according to this program. I can see, Graham, you have been given exactly 30 minutes. Right? Yes. Yeah, 30 minutes. So you have 30 minutes. Asante.
To put this into 20 minutes will be tough, but Excellency, what I'd like to do is try and encapsulate really the main issues, where we are today and where Zanzibar can be tomorrow, and what that really means for sustainable development. I won't go into my background as a result. I've worked in developing many destinations, Kenya, Mozambique, Kyrgyzstan, Poland, Syria, Pakistan, Egypt, etc. And like the Aga Khan's networks, it's not just about tourism, it's about everything that goes behind that, including health, education, environment, conservation, etc. So we look at a very transformative, sustainable change development program that covers all of those areas for it to work. So we only partner with select nations to help formulate a vision and actionable roadmaps, not just a vision, not just a strategy, it's an actionable roadmap for transformative change, really for a community's economic, social, long-term sustainable development, where tourism can be the catalyst for change, so creating jobs, stimulating economic growth, secure socio-economic conditions for the people, environment, conservation, heritage and culture, etc., through integrated development, and ultimately to eradicate poverty profitably. The knowledge we provide takes a commercial approach to national development to be sustainable and profitable. We are not academics or scientists, so we don't want to lay that claim. There are more than enough around of those, including consultants, in fact. So we see ourselves much more as a central advisory, but ultimately hoping to be a delivery agent working with stakeholders. We've been working since 2017 developing this strategic transformative roadmap for Zanzibar, based really on the nation's current position and where it could be in the next 10 years as a stimulus for the Zanzibar Vision 2050. And this has been under the driver of Honourable Minister Combo in the last 3 years, but linked to other ministries, including Ministry of Finance, Planning, which has definitely been the stimulus that we've seen that growth in the last couple of years. Also helping to form a much stronger collaborative working relationship with the public and private sectors, and open, more transparent framework to work and build together to improve those conditions for people of Zanzibar, but also from an investment in a sustainable manner. And to help brand Zanzibar as one of the world's most distinguished destinations to visit and to invest in for the long-term future. And of course, as Honourable Minister Combo said, we're now working on using Corona as a disruptive change agent in that aspect. What we look at is very much what we call quadruple bottom line. It's integrated quadruple bottom line, which is 4 Ps. So there has to be a clear purpose, it has to include people, planet, and prosperity. So ultimately, if that doesn't work, it's not sustainable. When we look at that, when I say tourism covers all sectors, it quite literally covers everything from a nation's DNA. Because an educated, healthy, and prosperous nation is just good for business, frankly. And so this is very important that we all understand that the community, education, health, inclusiveness, agriculture, environment, conservation, all plays a part in the building blocks of what is the tourism for tomorrow within something like Zanzibar. And we do actually believe Zanzibar is in a very, very unique position to achieve this in a global sense. In this phase development program, we looked at from 2019 to 2030. So we're looking at the next 10 years. And looking at that, what we firstly did is study the essential DNA, what we call the DNA, really at every level of the in the national sense, of strengths, weaknesses, and what will be organic triggers to help stimulate that faster. We then studied those realistic opportunities and threats across the nation, and then what's required to really move those things forward, as I said, with triggers. And we break those into three main phases with 3.5 years each, ultimately aiming to get to the point of a balanced funding model required with government under an integrated framework. And I use integrated a lot because in the organic growth of Zanzibar today, it's really been very organic from a private sector perspective. That called for, what we looked at was 880 million. It was split somewhat within private sector, 31, these are new developments, 56 under grants, soft loans, and the public sector. These are specific projects that break into every single category, which I'll touch on very briefly, given the timeline. As you know today, within the public sector, each of the various areas of the ministries, with respect, and I'll be quite direct if I may, operate as silos. So the lack of integration means that it's very difficult for investors to come in to actually make projects more harmonious as a collective. So this is very critical, and we look at this as one of the most important issues, in fact, for making investment transformative, because if it's disparate, you can have many projects, and Zanzibar has thousands of projects, but they don't come together, there's lots of overlaps, sometimes it can be actually a negative, and it doesn't necessarily move the nation state forward in a collective clarity. So I have, as you can see, tourism, farming, agriculture, and the blue economy, Excellency. That's very important that we see as critical. So these silos need to be integrated more in a communication sense, according to a streamlined plan and focus with clarity, with proper phasing. This allows us to then tell the story in a much clearer way to potential grants, funding organizations, institutions around the world that want to make sure that where their money goes is going to have an impact not just in that immediate project, but in a wider sense. Blue economy, I'm sure you know very well. At the end of the day, it's only 4.8% really of the GDP of the nation today. Obviously, you're sitting on a potential untapped market there, no question about that. Blue economy, of course, also has to work in harmony, of course, with tourism. So that it's very important, again, that the clarity of vision comes together. Farming, agriculture, 16.8% of the GDP. It's not integrated into the supply chain that sits in this room. So of all these wonderful people here, 88% of their consumables daily are imported. So sitting right here in the backyard is one of the richest lands and farming and what have you, where rural community, as you know, has great unemployment under the youth today at 76.5%. It's very, very high. That's a worry. And so this is very important. Tourism, actually, we see much closer to 50% of direct, indirect, and induced. We've done all these studies. We've done our own studies, in fact, because we can't rely too much on some of the existing statistics. It's even higher than that, because if you take, for instance, all of the unregistered people from a livelihood perspective in Zanzibar today, whether it's a street vendor or whether it's the open access to water and fishing, and they sell that into the hotels, it probably accounts for a much higher percentage than that. So it's a very important impact. However, what we want it to always be is realistic. So at the same time, Corona is an example where if you had 100% reliance on tourism, you would be in devastation today. So actually, from a community perspective, the fact that it's not inclusive today, I think is an opportunity to start to look at that in a much more successful way. But at the same time, tourism includes culture, heritage, environment, conservation, all of these factors which have to be brought into a much more economic process. I won't go into what we're doing in the mandates, but we're looking now at building a strategic roadmap. We're working with the Ministry of Finance and Planning to establish exactly what projects are out there today, where there is funding, where the gaps are. What's very important when you start to move this framework forward is really more important to identify the gaps than it is where the projects are. And we too often concentrate on the existing projects because it's nice to have them when there's funding around, of course, but they have to be within context to a clear development strategy and roadmap. So I won't spend time on this. I have a memory stick for you, Excellency, that you can take with you. So, Honourable Minister Combo touched on this before, but obviously from an economic indicator, it's critical today, but for the reasons I've said. I won't spend time on this either, but today, Zanzibar is in what we call Tourism 1.0. And it needs to move over the next 10 years to 2.0 and 3.0. What does this really mean? So today, the investments have really been made through the private sector, the investors here, on an organic basis, with the 538,000 tourists, actually 9,600 hotel rooms, more than 60,000 jobs, 49.8% GDP, 188 average per person, it says 180 there. The levers of change that has happened, which is what we've been working on in the last couple of years with everyone in this room, is a common vision of tourism for all, and the formation of a tourism body and delivery unit, integrating tourism planning, capacity building, adaptive reuse, cultural heritage, environment, brand strengthening, etc. 2.0 is when you start to really look at the government taking a much stronger position in the planned investment strategy and the zoning, with the value chain development, so as I said, with agriculture, etc., and blue economy coming back into those businesses, to increase yield for tourists, and then build fit-for-purpose education, improve health and welfare, carrying capacity limits are set. We don't know there is carrying capacity today. What we do know is from a resource perspective, Zanzibar today is not carrying that capacity. It's already a broken system, frankly, and I'll explain that very briefly. And eventually to Tourism 3.0, which is when you start to get to more self-sustaining, the carrying capacity has been reached, you then move your yields up rather than necessarily just adding volume. I don't think with the limits, there are restrictive assets that will always be the place and resources in Zanzibar. The geography will always be limited, the resources will always be limited, and so it has to be in context really to what is the impact of a tourist and destination, and how does that fit in actually with the welfare of the people of the state moving forward. So again, I won't move into all of this because I'll leave it with you afterwards and you can have that in more detail. Honourable Minister Combo touched on the competitive situation. It's very important, we've been saying this, as you know, Honourable Minister, for the last number of years, to not just look at Zanzibar in its own context, because what we tend to do is get tied up into our own difficulties and issues. We need to look outside of that and really see where Zanzibar is in context to other nations already doing extraordinarily well from this market. It's not necessarily about volume, it's really about yield. So if you look at these bottom figure on your left, it's probably the most important. So it's 180 from 188, so it's 826 per person per stay, versus Mauritius 2,381, Seychelles 2,752, and Maldives 3,743. Of course, completely reliant on tourism, 88%. So these are very important to look at. And the next slide is going to look a little complicated. You'll have to forgive me, but I think it encapsulates the full picture of what we're trying to say. So on the left side here, we have $180 a day to spend, reaching $1,000. We then look at sort of 12 perceptions from a tourism point of view. So you have from the people, upscale image, heritage culture, marine, beaches, roads, airport infrastructure, education, conservation, health, safety, security, environment, well-being. All critical factors when choosing where you want to stay, and of course value for money comes into that. The perception that we did these studies on showed that Zanzibar today, from a people's perspective, is very high. Everybody who knows Zanzibar love the people of Zanzibar. They're warm, welcoming, incredibly hospitable and very safe. So this is an incredibly important asset that everyone in this room knows very well, which is why they're in the room. But the upscale image, you guys, 4-star, 5-star, 3-star, etc., fine. But actually, from an international perspective, the image is not necessarily of a luxury destination at the moment. It is with one or two, but not enough. It's seen quite low in general terms. And that can change, because we know it can change. Heritage and culture is already very high. And the blue line is what I'm talking about, which is the current position of Zanzibar. If you look at marine, it's on what we call critical. It's at 5 out of 10. So on this side, 0 to 10 is the ranking. And then education and roads, infrastructure, conservation, very, very, very low. Health and safety, sitting 5, not good. Security is good. It could be better because we believe that Zanzibar is one of the best and safest destinations in Africa and in many other parts of the world. So that could be higher. And that's all about branding and communicating in a much more efficient way. And then you have environment. Of course, everybody comes here and they see plastic and rubbish, and you guys live here and we all know it. That's looked at as very, 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 very low, and it's critical. And then finally, well-being. So people who come here, who are visitors, when they see that, they also see that that's not good for the well-being of the people, the citizens of the nation. So this is very important. However, the black line at the top is where we believe Zanzibar will appear in the next 10 years. And the aim with transformative change is to get there. And of course, this is much easier said than done. We always say that a good vision is fine, but it's 1% inspiration and 99% perspiration. But this is really possible, and we think very realistic from a moving perspective. And of course, with numbers of tourists at $1,000 per day to spend, from a tax revenue perspective, from a treasury perspective, that's a much greater target to reach, and the assets are there. So we know the assets are there. And the other thing which these other destinations do not have, right on your backyard, is wildlife. So from a wildlife perspective, and most of the 5-star resorts here, I'm sure will all admit that probably 80 to 90% of their visitors are actually a pre or post safari tour, mostly post safari stay. And we've got lots of statistics that break that down actually, even to where they go to. This just breaks up the 880 million I mentioned before, and in which areas of tourism, heritage, conservation, agriculture, health, water, education. I'm relying on you, Honourable Minister, to stop me when I get to 20 minutes. Education I mentioned as being critical. I'm a bit blunt here, please forgive me. We've studied all of the various reports from every ministry. Under 1% of children pre-primary are actually in pre-primary or kindergarten. We know that that's not enough. We obviously have to find ways to get that improved. Not just for the children's sake, but also single mothers, etc., because they can't work. They have to stay at home and look after their kids. So this is very important. 30%, I'm afraid, are not in school today. There is a weak standard, to be blunt, in primary and in secondary, and only 15% have toilet facilities, with 40% shortage of actual classrooms. The system to educate for job finding doesn't exist today, and there's a lack of attitude, of fitness attitude, and a lack of food and related support. So when these kids go to actually school, they don't have food, etc. And we know this is critical for learning. And ultimately, what we're saying all of this for is it needs to build toward a fit-for-purpose labour force, which does not exist really here today. And actually, we think only about 11% penetration of effectiveness is in that area. So there's a lot of work to do here, but that means we've got to get into what are the right jobs the nation's leading to in the next 10 years. That needs to fit into that education system from the very beginning all the way through. So I'm sorry to touch also on these details, but tourism is all about education and health as well. When we look at health, it's about people, planet, profit, purpose. As I said, so people is about education, culture, health, inclusiveness. That needs to be a major part of what the tourism asset will be for tomorrow. Planet, of course, heritage, wildlife, environment. We include heritage there because one of the unique aspects here is the unique heritage, which is eroding, and we've got to find ways, which we've been working with, Honourable Minister, to change that and to find a regeneration of purpose. Profit, of course, I've already said, tourism, blue economy, and agriculture. These are the primary factors that we see as critical moving forward. Of course, there are many other things that can be developed. We're not saying that's the only thing, but for a program that we're looking at, we have to look at main triggers. And these already exist. And finally, from a socio-economic perspective, the purpose is a more self-reliant and community-related and sustainable program. I won't go into a lot of this detail here, because I'm conscious of time again, but we're looking very much at what we call public-private community partnerships and pushing all of these aspects I'm talking about into cluster zones of where the businesses exist. This helps everything from agriculture, waste management, recycling, job creation, community inclusiveness, etc. So I won't spend time on this, I'll just leave it with you. And again, with this, it just explains more about the hub system and how that works on asset clusters. There is, by the way, another 100 pages behind all of these various things in each section, so I won't go into that now. We're looking at these trigger impacts, as I said, on a people perspective on education, community and health, with the health problems that exist in the nation and with the very, very concentrated problems that exist within the main hospital. We believe that pushing out improved health centres in these regions, and we've got a whole plan behind this already, with private sector interest as well, will alleviate a lot of the problems. What it also does is it allows much greater direct benefits to the communities and gets into curative preventative care before it ends up being major issues. And it's a much more, we think, more immediate way to get health into the area for all the communities, which impact, of course, then on visitors as well. Profit and enterprise, tourism, blue economy, agriculture. We're looking at how this would link into the integrated cluster hubs. Again, I won't spend too much time on here because I'm conscious of the issues of time. And closed loop systems. So at the moment, for instance, we don't have enough of this going on. So we are really working on a whole waste management program. The central dump that exists today is there. It isn't sorted yet. There's a plan for it to have a sorting process. But 85% of that dump is, in fact, organic waste. Now, that organic waste is a very, very valuable commodity. And if you use this closed-loop system, we'll be able to literally regenerate that into proper feed, high-protein feeds for tilapia or whatever it might be, poultry. And the balance that's left is a very, very high-grade compost. And again, this can be done in all these communities, so it's a small, medium enterprise program that can move from there. So this is very important. Water is a considerable problem. Again, I'm being blunt. But at the moment, if you take the hotels, a five-star hotel uses about 550 litres per person per day of water, of clean water. It's less for 3 stars, about 180. In the dry season, there are villages here who can't access 5 litres. So this inclusive benefit is critical to the success of the tourism industry moving forward. They have to obviously have fresh water, clean water, not just for drinking, but actually rainwater, groundwater, etc., to go back from these businesses into agriculture and irrigation, so you can start to have a healthy agricultural system as well. Clean water, this goes into more depth and the budget behind it, what we're looking at. I won't go into that in too much detail. But today, there's a lot of discharging of raw sewage into the oceans and beaches. This, of course, affects the communities, but also affects tourism. The current water table of the last survey, that was 2015, showed a drop of 4 feet in the water level from the previous survey. So that's really quite dramatic. There hasn't really been a new survey since then, and we're working at the moment trying to get that done. There are serious salination seeping due to, in fact, erosion on the coastal area. This has actually been for lack of proper governance. It's legislated, there's rules not to do building lines, etc. A lot of building lines have surpassed where they need to be, and this has created salination, as well as, of course, climate change and warming of the ocean. That has an impact as well. And the destruction of the mangroves. So 65% depletion in Unguja. Pemba is still largely protected, but these are very important because it's actually the lungs of the island. And including some serious pollution across parts of Unguja, but actually mainly in around Stone Town, etc. So these are quite critical. We're working on, early estimates is several solar hybrid powered desalination plants. Again, I won't go into too much detail here, but ultimately where each hotel business becomes a desalination unit, and it creates that, and it should create that. But also what's required for the citizens of the country in moving that forward. And this just is just a top-level idea of showing you water management from that perspective. And of course, conservation, which is critical. And this is about zoning, proper accreditation programs, proper legislation, proper governance. So it's not, the legislation is there. There's actually very good legislation in Zanzibar. It's just not being properly regulated. And we think that the future is very much part of this public-private community partnership. So this would be with integrated conservation community areas, where those areas become the governance of that regulatory structure, because it just allows from a cash perspective to operate where the issues are. And it goes into some detail there on the requirements. We have an integrated plan. Everything we're talking about should be part of an integrated program and process. Otherwise, it doesn't work. Just like having a vaccine for a virus. If you only vaccine 10% of the people and 90% aren't, it's not going to take long before it's now 100% of them. And I'm not talking corona. Tourism for all branding, Honourable Minister mentioned this is obviously critical, but what we've been trying to explain as well, because people sometimes have confused branding and marketing as just a promotional issue. We don't see that. When we develop destinations, we look at really the DNA of the nation. So brand DNA is literally on, you can see as it comes into this sort of DNA module, and it affects everything from communities, well-being, health, everything I've touched on. And when you then got that right, not just from an identifying perspective, but also on the building blocks of moving forward, then you start to really market your destination and to be ultimately what we believe Zanzibar can be, which is one of the leading destinations in the world. I honestly believe from an island perspective, amongst the top 10 without question, and I believe that. We've already started with the stakeholders, as Honourable Minister Combo said, the National Branding Committee that kick-started last July, just about a year ago. Basically looking now, 12 months later, at the brand DNA and what that really means from a current identity perspective, and then looking at what's required moving forward in a collaborative way to truly take the brand to market, and using a really world-leading, what we call distribution destination platform, where people can book online direct. You'll still have your Expedias and everybody else, of course, and we need those, and charter operators, we need those desperately. But people should be able to book direct as well to the hotels. So that's the branding line. Why it's important, of course, the competitive consumer world has never been more competitive than it is today. Every country will be fighting not just for grants, etc., but in tourism for travellers. There are many difficulties that everyone's going to face, not just in their own country, but actually from source markets. But it's also essential to be able to promote that locally because it's part of a nation's pride. So it affects all the people and citizens of the country, and it needs to make sure that helps drive the transformative development roadmap for increased investments and more targeted with tourists. I won't go into that. It's about what's left behind when we pass on. It's going to be integrated management, benefit management in the public sector domain, shareholder engagement management, communication management, change management, risk management, governance, etc. There are more, Excellency, there are more than enough studies, there are more than enough research. I have never seen so many as I've seen in Zanzibar. You've got to dig in drawers, however. They're all very disparate. But there's lots of that. There are many thousands of people around the world who want to help Zanzibar and who are very willing to do it and are doing it, but again in a disparate way. All we're saying is we're taking and we've already studied all of this. We've brought out all of these areas. We've added to some and we've changed others. But we believe there's more than enough. And finally, we also looked at a resilience response program to Corona. And the next 2 to 3 years, what the island should be doing to try to be ready for the onslaught when it gets back. So when that brand DNA is ready, up promoting and marketing, then I think Zanzibar will have an extraordinarily healthy future. Asante sana. 20 minutes exactly.
Honorable Dr. Hussein Mwinyi, Ministry of Defence and National Service, Honorable Mgombea, Minister of Information, Tourism and Heritage, all tourism investors from different countries, ladies and gentlemen, a very good afternoon to all. First, I would like to thank Honorable Dr. Hussein Mwinyi for accepting our request and invitation to meet the major foreign investors investing in tourism sector in Tanzania, and for giving us this great opportunity to discuss and share our inside information, tourism, business experience in Zanzibar, challenges and successes achieved, future vision of Zanzibar towards Vision 2050 by the revolutionary government of Zanzibar, and the challenges that we are having and are facing for the destination pre and current corona situation. Honorable Dr. Hussein Mwinyi, you will note that today we have approximately 30 top tourism investors on the island who have invested to the tune of $500 million investment in Zanzibar. We have no words enough to express our appreciation and gratitude for you to allocate your time out of extremely busy schedule to meet us today. We're greatly honored and privileged. Asante sana. As I said, the total investment of people who are around this room today exceeds $500 million and employs thousands of Tanzanians. So honorable, what you hear from them is the voice of the tourism industry, which until last year, 2019, contributed 49% of the total GDP per capita national income of Zanzibar, compared to the mainland Tanzania, where tourism only contributed towards 17.2% of the national GDP per capita. According to the official statistics from the National Bureau of Statistics, both in Zanzibar and Tanzania mainland, 538,425 tourists visited Zanzibar island, as per capita population of 1.5 million compared to 1,527,230 tourists who visited mainland Tanzania, which is estimated to have a population of 60 million. The ratio is very clear of the future tourism industry for the Zanzibar island, and if we focus more, and as per the CCM manifesto, which clearly states 850,000 tourists per year till 2025. This clearly shows the tourism industry can surpass other industries if we focus and give attention, including accountability on the regulations. As for other sectors such as agriculture, aquaculture, spice farming, and seaweed farming, which has been given more attention and higher priority. In recent years, more focus has also been placed in oil and gas industry, as we all can witness that. All what we are requesting you, Your Excellency, Dr. Mwinyi, inshallah, upon winning the presidential race, which we are all confident and in high spirit of your support to your landslide victory, with more government attention towards this industry and currently direct employment 55,000 nationals and indirectly provide livelihood to approximately 150,000 nationals. We are all aware that through the new CCM manifesto under your great leadership, you will be required to create 300,000 new jobs, where the tourism industry can make substantial contribution towards this figure, both directly and indirect employment creation. I personally, as Commissioner of Tourism for the second term now, thanks to the Honourable Minister, Mheshimiwa Mgombe, for reappointing me again for the second term. I have been an active member for the Commission of Tourism, whose law has provided enough emphasis on the industry's regulation together with the inclusion of key stakeholders. ZATO, Zanzibar Association of Tour Operators, ZATI, Zanzibar Association of Tourism Investors, whose most members are here today, and ZATOGA, that stands for Zanzibar Association of Tour Guides, where all have been mentioned in the Commission of Tourism law and fully recognized by the revolutionary government of Zanzibar. I have also been an active founder member for the Zanzibar Tourism Show, which started in 2018 with a great success for the industry, and member of the National Branding Committee for both Zanzibar and Tanzania mainland, appointed by both the tourism ministers of the Union. We all admit that we are facing tough times ahead, where our biggest markets are highly affected by the COVID-19 and will take time to recover, approximately 2 years. As Corona seems to be there to stay with us according to the statements released by the World Health Organization, WHO. These tough times ahead require better strategies and recovery plans, with additional efforts and higher operating protocols that will be coupled with vigorous marketing campaigns to further strengthen the trust and the confidence of international travelers and tourists towards our destination, Zanzibar. Please, at this juncture, rest assured of our support collectively to work together with the government of Zanzibar to regain the glory that was shaken by the COVID-19, and our direct support to you and your future government and leadership. Together, we shall be able to overcome all the obstacles and challenges and meet the global trust and confidence, which we will remain the important success factor for economy to return and investment here in Zanzibar. Honorable Dr. Mwinyi, we have been doing the Zanzibar Tourism Show for the last 2 years, and being a co-founder of the show, we hope we have your support in future, and we would welcome you as our chief guest in your next year's show, inshallah, whereby the dates will be announced soon. Besides the tourism show, we've been doing the tourism summit, as well bringing the stakeholders around the table, discussing our challenges together with the government. Our minister and the ministry have been playing a key role in the round table between the public and the private sector, including the NGO involved in the tourism industry. I would like to point out 10 key points of challenges that we have been in our discussions and the roundtable talks with the government and during the Zanzibar Tourism Summit. A lot has been mentioned by Graham, but I would quickly like to go through it again. Number one, security. Good security is essential anywhere for tourism industry to flourish and prosper. From petty theft to police station cases handling management, it all affects tourism. We are grateful that we are safe and calm destination, but we need to strengthen more on the tourism patrol police for deterrence on petty thefts and crimes. Point number two, access to utilities, power, water, fuel, energy are the main drivers of the industry. The power situation is very critical. We are happy to hear that alternative energy, that is solar power, wind energy, and other sources of power are being considered by our government and in the manifesto as well. As for the water, we are not sure as how much water do we have under the ground. And water table levels has been diminishing over the past years due to the development and construction industry. We do not harvest our rainwater, and most of it lost in the sea through the rain water management systems. We do not know when this valuable resource will run out. It would be good to see an assessment of the situation where we can jointly work together to find a common solution for all. Point number three, environment, land and sea. Tourists come to Zanzibar, and in your speeches through the Blue Economy and in the CCM manifesto, tourists will leave or shorten their stay if they see plastic waste or other type of waste, if not managed properly. We are all aware how the plastic waste and other metallic waste affect our water tables and the sea for sustainable tourism. Salinity levels and degradation of the wonderful, attractive, colorful reef fishes has been seen to deteriorate to some degree in the past years. Landfill sites are being built, but they need to be managed properly. We have seen the Kibele massive landfill site, but it needs to be managed rather than left decomposed waste and unseparated waste that can be extremely harmful to our environment, to both terrestrial and marine. Point number four, resources. Importantly, blue economy on tourism requires good marine life. Our tourism industry needs to have fish around for both sea activities and seafood to ecologically balance in a sustainable manner. This is the high-value domestic tourism. It is our future goal. Have we enough of these resources, and how much are we planning to export in a sustainable manner? We need to find solutions for a lot of things. Point number five, education. We really want to employ more Zanzibaris in higher positions, but the vast majority are not properly equipped educationally and professionally with lack of experience too for the service industry. Without local, highly skilled human resources, we are forced to employ outsiders where Zanzibaris miss the opportunity on tourism for all. Point number 6, waste management. In conclusion, I strongly believe that we need to undertake a thorough study to understand the sustainable carrying capacity of our island in terms of the number of tourists that we can or can take or can hold, number of liters of clean water spent to feed the industry through different aspects such as pools, water, drinking water, cooking, etc. Number of beds that our resources can support so that we can use wisely the little resources we have in a sustainable manner. Alternatively, we should have a tourism plan for 10 years from 2020 to 2030 to be shared to all parties and committees with commitment to work on it for the next 10 years or more. Point number 7, we need a very efficient and fast working investment center. The new ZIPA, clarity on permits and visas, work and resident permits, immigration statuses, all need to have more clarity with commitment from both sides of the industry. Trading taxes and VAT statuses between Zanzibar and Tanzania mainland. VAT, yes or no? It cannot be that only some companies pay VAT, others don't pay because they operate unofficially or they are not VAT registered. It should be a level, equal playing field for all. Offsetting of VAT is currently very difficult and not friendly to investors. Even asking for claiming back from the tax authorities has become very tedious. A solution could be reduction of 2 tax authorities to either one, either ZRB or TRA. Point number 8, general accountability from the government authorities and civil services needs to be strengthened with commitment towards serving the industry. Time to respond issues, requests and inquiries should be clearly monitored on accountability fashion. We strongly feel that the vow will be taken into consideration when you make an appropriate team for your government and for all the tourism investors will directly increase on the revenue collection for the government. Strengthening skills within Zanzibar Tourism Commission should be a priority. Point number 9, opening up Pemba Island for tourism and emphasizing more on sustainable ecotourism. Fully sustainable and responsible tourism can avoid Pemba from the mistakes Zanzibar has made. We can have proper plan for Pemba Island where higher value upmarket tourism can be created from the untouched green nature of Pemba Island and building from the use of the local material, local staff training and local organic and food supplies. Point number 10, and that's my last point, not quantity but quality. I repeat again, not quantity but quality. As the growth of the tourism industry has been increased over the past years, this is giving the opportunity to select which type of investors come to the island and what investment they should do on our beautiful island. We don't want quantity and we want low value tourism. However, if we talk about carrying capacity, yes, it is about the numbers and volume, but the question here should be what type of tourists do we need to attract? And what type of investors should be allowed to invest in Zanzibar? To ensure that we have quality and quantity that we want with the amount of incoming and to sustain our beautiful island of Unguja and Pemba. I thank you once again for your time to listen attentively to all these challenges that I have put forward. Not to exhaust you, but to rather request for you to work together towards successful and fruitful, unique and the most attractive destination. We will see you at the next tourism show in 2021, inshallah, as our President of Zanzibar and the Chairman of the Council.
Excellency, guest of honor, I would like now to request you to move to a seat here, please. I have some good news for the audience. His Excellency, Dr. Hussein Mwinyi, has agreed to give us a little bit more time because you are very important to him as well. So we have moved the schedule. I will give the audience we'll select 10 people, whoever is going to raise their hand, 10 people, for your comment, your contribution, your question you might have to the presenters, to us, to His Excellency, the guest of honor, perhaps. Anything that you would like to say, you are free. But 10 people, 2 minutes each, not more than that. And I'll be very strict in time. So before he speaks, he will be the last person to speak. And after that, there will be a vote of thanks and we'll end up our program. So this is your chance. This is your time. Don't say your minister didn't give you the chance. I requested, I whispered through his ears and he has agreed. Special for you. So who would like to go first? Can you raise your hands? Whoever wants to contribute. I know Antonella will be the first one, right?
No, the last.
The last? Okay, so I'm putting Antonella number 10. Yves Montel? Okay. So Yves Montel. Nicolas? Antonella, who else? Guys, are you there? Mr. Teenager, Habibi, Reda, Swed. I've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. That's it. I'm closing the list. Tobias from Fumba Town Development. Okay, that's it. So we got 6. I don't think I'll take any more because this is the last call. So I would like to welcome first Yves Montel, then Nicolas, then Reda, because you are sitting together, and then Teenager and Tobias will follow. Karib Sana, Mr. Yves Montel. Introduce yourself, who you are, what you are doing in Zanzibar. Come here, so that the guests of honor can see you.
Thank you very much, Honorable Minister Combo. Guest of honor, Honorable Dr. Mwinyi, my pleasure welcoming you here. And to the assembly around me, good afternoon. Thank you for the time. I know I have only a couple of minutes, so I'll be very, very short. From my experience over the last 12 years, 13 years in Zanzibar, I must admit that the last 3 years were quite astonishing. As an investor, a small investor, but quite an active member of the hospitality community, let's put it this way, I've been extremely honored and pleased to be welcomed in various committees, branding committees, ZTS committees, and frequently called by Honorable Combo on various issues. So I really felt, like many of my colleagues here in this room, that I was really adding to the destination of the island. It has surely helped the entire industry here in Zanzibar. My wish, and I'm not sure if that was the purpose of me taking the mic today, Honorable Combo, but my wish is really that the good job that has been done over the last 3 years is being carried through. The extensive studies work of every one of us is being noticed, and surely what Graham has shown us earlier on, which we had been shown a few months back, be taken into consideration, because truly we have an amazing island to work on, live on, and enjoy. I've been lucky enough working in Mauritius for 7 years. I believe that we definitely can take a large part of their market, considering the destination capacity, the weather that we have 11 months of the year, the heritage that we have, and the amount of kilometers of beautiful beaches that we do have here in Zanzibar. So, Honorable Dr. Mwinyi, I think my 2 minutes are gone, and I thank you very much for your attention. Thank you very much. Thanks to all.
Nicholas, then Reza.
Actually,
You speak from there?
yeah, Honorable dear colleagues, Yves told everything I wanted to say. Good. Yes, actually, he called the point where all of us were here because we deeply love this island, we deeply love Unguja Island, and Pemba as Pemba is part of it. And yes, we had the chance to work all around the world, and especially within the Indian Ocean. And definitely Zanzibar has something unique to be given compared to the Seychelles, compared to the Maldives, and compared to Mauritius, where we did work together. So we are proud to be here, and we are not obliged to be here. None of us here are obliged to be here on this island. We are not forced to be here. So it's just a the main message is the island has so much to give, and we have to be proud of where we are. We all proud where we are compared to the rest of the island within the Indian Ocean. That was just my humble contribution.
Okay, this is when you have nothing to say, you say all that. Thank you very much. He's the GM of best two hotels. One is here in Zanzibar, Melia, and the other one is Grand Melia in Arusha. He's managing both of them. So he's commuting between here and Arusha every day. Yeah? And Serengeti as well. Oh, wonderful. I've never been there, so I don't know. Reda, welcome. I would like to pick one from Pemba. Mr. Matthew, prepare yourself, because I think in this room you're only from Pemba, right? You're the only in Pemba here. Is there anybody else from Pemba? Mheshimiwa huyu mwenye kile chumba cha chini ya bahari ambacho kimeleta umaarufu mkubwa sana kwa Zanzibar. So, Reda, karibu sana. I thought you would say like Nicholas.
Mheshimiwa, Honorable Minister, dear colleagues, just as Nicholas said, most of my colleagues talked about it, about the main issues that we face, and one of the points I would like to choose is the water, because also Jared has mentioned that. And in our hotel to Blue Bahari Zanzibar, we have done a great job where we can reuse the water again. And as German said, that in the hotels, the consumption of water is huge and is massive. So what we are doing, we actually treating the salt water, we use it for our guests, then we use it again and we treat it again, and we use it for the garden. And now in the third phase, we will use also, or we will use water that can be drinkable. And this is going to be the next step. The second point I would like to choose as well, as mentioned before, the security. And in general, as we all know, we are here, I'm here more than 10 years, and one of the main reasons that Zanzibar, I find it a very secure destination. However, security for tourists is different. The definition for tourists is different. It's different. And one of the main issues we are facing actually is the beach policy. And this is one big problem that I believe and I hope in this nearest future that it can be solved with respect for our neighbors, I would call them, because they are on the beach because they need the money, they need income for their families. We do understand that, and we are not asking them not to be there, but however, it should be some regulations where they can stay there, because most beautiful pictures of Zanzibar beach where are the Zanzibaris are inside the beach. So it's part of it. So we are not asking to remove them because they need it, and also we need them. However, it should be kind of regulations where we can control the women harassment, the drugs dealers, and all of that. That these are serious issues that we are facing in our industry. It's not yet a big issue, but I believe is not controlled now. It can be a big issue in the future. Thank you so much.
Okay, Mr. Teenager now, and after that, Tobias from Fumba. Mr. Teenager runs one of the best part of Zanzibar, the Mnemba Island. How much is the room?
Good afternoon all, Honorable Minister, and the members in this room. My name is Scott Teenager. I look after and beyond properties in Tanzania, including our beautiful Mnemba Island. I know lots have been stressed or pointed out by Honorable Minister Kombo and Mr. Javed. Hii kwangu ni uchokozi tu I want to do. Since Javed pointed out that we are after quality, not quantity. Definitely we have a problem on the island of Mnemba, which is overcrowded by boats doing snorkeling. It's definitely not giving a very good image of our island. The 500,000 38 tourists that visited Zanzibar, we have encountered 151 snorkelers that do snorkel on the house reef. This means they're coming too close to the island, too close even to the guest rooms, to a state that they do come even to shower. It has been a huge challenge, and we're looking at the good forum to resolve this. The other issue, which I would like to point out, lease agreement has taken a long time, which has an impact in terms of investing more. The shareholders are ready to invest, but the assurance is too little in terms of investment. And we would like this, when you have the opportunity to become a president, to look at this. And thank you so much. Those are two critical issues for and beyond Mnemba Island.
Then Matthew, and the last one, as she requested, will be the gender balance, a lady, Antonella. Karibu Tobias. Introduce yourself.
Good evening, my name is Tobias. I work for CPS. We're a developer behind Fumba Town Development and another project, The Soul in Paje. Honorable Dr. Mwinyi, thank you for taking the time to this evening. I would like to join the people who spoke before me to, first of all, thank Zanzibar and the Zanzibar government for showing us as investors hospitality. Over the past years, we are all business people. We could do business somewhere else in the world. We chose to be here, chose to do business here, and this is due to a very strong and good cooperation with the Zanzibar government over the past years, which I really would like to thank on behalf of all of us. We all know that there are many challenges, and that I think that most of the issues were already mentioned by Graham and also Javed. I would like to just point out maybe two things which are personally important to me. I think due to the corona pandemic worldwide, Zanzibar at the moment has actually a huge chance to really stick out and take a step forward, and also to prove that we are a safe destination and that we are a great destination to travel to once international travel starts again. We just need to prove it to the world. So this is really, I think, a huge chance for Zanzibar. Second thing I would like to highlight again is what Javed said. I think, especially for new investments and further investments, a very efficient one-stop center for investments is important, with guarantees on permits for really investors, long-time permits, which guarantee us our investments here on the island. Thank you very much.
Matthew from Pemba. You are the only person from Pemba today. You are the only investor from Pemba. So you will get 3 minutes.
I sometimes feel very alone on Pemba Island. You guys have all got each other, and sometimes I feel pretty lonely there. I don't know if many people actually understand that Pemba Island means the Green Island, literally. It actually means the Green Island. And I think a few words about the heritage in the sea. I'm extremely excited to hear about the blue economy, the discussion about the blue economy. I think we need to include tourism in that blue economy. We need to take tourism seriously as the most serious player within the tourism economy, and for Zanzibar. I think I've been advocating high yield, low volume tourism for many years for Pemba. I think a lot of people realize that Pemba is actually Zanzibar 30 years ago, even 40 years ago. And I believe that the most important critical thing is that the right type of investors follow into Pemba. I think the right type of tourism equals the right type of investment. I think that is critical, and I think that's the basis for everything that we're going to do. We're all like-minded, we all have a common vision for Pemba. Pemba is an amazing opportunity. Thank you.
I knew you would make a hit on Pemba, because when I visited Pemba, we had a very big meeting with all the key stakeholders, including several ministers who are responsible for local government. We had environment, agriculture, education. And it was wonderful the way you presented them. And I'm sure you will share your presentation like the way Graham did with His Excellency Dr. Mwinyi, because it was a very useful. So please, I request you to arrange that presentation in flash disk or in whatever means, the Kwanini Foundation, the Kwanini model, which several marine conservation area, zile mbuga za wanyama baharini zimekuwa zikifuata model yake ya Pemba. Katika blue economy, mheshimiwa mgeni rasmi, umezungumzwa kuvua zaidi samaki. Huyu anasema tusipovua zaidi kuna njia ya kupata fedha zaidi kutokana na watu kutembea baharini kuliko kuvua. Ndio point yake, ndio maana akasema. Kwa hiyo kuna debate point ambayo ipo katika blue economy. You said that tourism has not given enough emphasis into the blue economy, like the fishing industry and processing and packaging. I know you are more into people going to visit rather than putting on the plate, but eventually you want at the right time when the fish grows to be put on the plate. Sidi, right? Am I right? Because that's what you told us in Pemba. So I would like to welcome now, who's next? Antonella. You are the last one. Jamani, Antonella wa mwisho. Kuna mwingine zaidi? Is there anybody else? Okay. Ah, exactly. So you are the last one, Antonella.
Thank you.
And you are the only... Yeah.
Thank you very much. Thank you, Honorable Minister and guest of honors. I will try to avoid to repeat the same topics we have been discussed. I'm totally agree on your 10 points. I think everybody we are sitting on the same situation. But I would like to highlight one point. I'm representing Italians, where we've been the pioneer in this island, and I think it's been extremely important when we decided 22 years ago to charterize the plane, because it was the simple way to reach Zanzibar. Before the charter, our passengers were taking 24 hours from Milano via Amsterdam or whatever, Dar es Salaam and Dar es Salaam. So the charter, I would like to understand everybody, is not only a cheaper market. Charter means to facilitate the enter the destination. So the charter with Island has been predominant, very true, from Italian, but they join us the German, they join us the Dutch and Belgium. And it's important to remember for 25 years, Europe market has been dominating this island. We can improve, we can grow together. definitely to achieve 5-star up plus, we need to invest a lot in infrastructure and the service. In any destination in the world, respectable destination, they include any category. 5-star, super luxury, 5 or 3. So there is a place and room for any category. Important is to deliver the right service. And to deliver the right service, I do believe, Mr. Gamma, the most important point is education. Now I will like the last point, what I think is important for all of us. We are facing a very critical situation, not easy to get back our passenger due to restriction and rules Europe in particular have been putting in our passenger. So we suffer as investors, we suffer as a tourism sector, we suffer in our staff, the economy of Zanzibar, so we are really all together in the same problem. I do really allow me to ask to strong recommend to establish, I can say, direct communication on a diplomatic way, diplomatic channel, through the Minister of Foreign Affairs in order to clean up a bit the vision of Tanzania problem of Corona. Will help us maybe accelerate the process. I'm sure in maybe July 2021, many situations will be more clear, but I do believe investors really need support as soon as possible. We have been trying with all our speaker number one headquarters. It's not enough. In this moment, private sector, nobody listens much private sector overseas. That is the reason why I really ask and recommend to consider to really reopen and establish a communication diplomatic relation. And even because in the last 5 years, due to political situation in Zanzibar, Europe didn't recognize the Zanzibar government. So there's been not much communication. So I do believe it's possible. Thanks for Corona and thanks for the new election can be the perfect opportunity. I would like to close and thank all my colleagues and partners that agreed with me in the last 2-3 years. We've been possibly really together, joined together force. Thanks for Mr. Combo, because they've been giving trust to keep us open. And we hope the continuity is only with the continuity of the program we have been started, we can really achieve to survive post-Corona. Okay, I don't like post-Corona, but after Corona. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Antonella is one of the main representing person representing the Italian market and the charter flight. I would like to take this opportunity to thank Mr. Nicolas Cedro. I don't see him. Where is he? Ah, okay. He refused when we went to pay his bill for this room, for the water, for the glasses, for the light, for the AC, for the electricity, for the screen. He refused completely to take our bill, and he has sponsored us. We are courtesy. I would like you to say a few words. Okay, if you can come here. And we say thank you very much, Nicolas, for calling us this venue. Nicolas, not you, Melia. Nicolas Park Hayat, now I'm with him. He's always been supporting us for the Tourism Summit, for the Zanzibar Tourism Show, whenever we come. And please don't feel jealous, all of you have been supporting us. We thank you all. But for tonight, the water that Reda is drinking is from Nicolas, so thank you very much, Nicolas.
Thank you very much, Honorable. Mashima, welcome to Park Hayat Zanzibar. Thank you for coming. We are very honored to have you in the room today. So you took my notes, Mashima. Thank you very much. So first of all, I would like to apologize for this beginning of the meeting with the electricity. It is a sentence to say, judge me no of my leadership, judge me how I can react when the problem is coming. So, for the one who doesn't know me, I'm the general manager of Park Hyatt Zanzibar. We are also manager of Beach House Zanzibar, successful restaurant in the last 2 years. And we opened successfully the only outside catering in flight for Qatar Airways as well. I am also the heart of Zati member, and recently I've been appointed as the honorary consul of Spain in Zanzibar. So, Honorable, first of all, I would like to thank you very much on the behalf, I think, of all my GM's colleagues. What you did the last 2 years for the tourism and for us have been incredible. Thank you very much. And as Antonella said, I think the continuity of what you started will be very important for us, and we trust that Mheshimiwa and inshallah the future president will help for that. Thank you very much. As you say, quality is important. Our hotel created a market 5 years ago. We have been Park Hyatt Zanzibar, the only luxury brand in the Hyatt brand. We have 950 hotels around the world. We have 42 Park Hyatt brands, and Zanzibar has been one of them. My owner, Mr. Abawadi, chose his brand to come to this island to create a luxury market in downtown. And we believe that Zanzibar is not only beach, but it's also culture, heritage, and downtown. So we bet on that, and I hope the cleaning of the city and all the culture of Zanzibar will also be different from other competitors. And this is what we need. We are very proud as well to see the new airport. Thank you very much for this achievement. This is amazing for all of us. Since I am in Zanzibar since 6 years, I work on the east and I worked on the town, and I have to say the last 3 years have been a tremendous progress and growth for all of us. And I would like to finish as our slogan in Hyatt International. I think the best thing is the people. We care for our people. We care for Zanzibari because we want them to be the best. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Nicholas, for the wonderful. You forgot your points again here. I would like to do a very special recognition of our Deputy Secretary General of the Chama Cha Mapinduzi Party, who's working in Zanzibar, Dr. Abdallah Juma Sadallah. Can you please stand? He is also professionally as a doctor of medicine, qualified doctor of medicine, like His Excellency. Thank you very much. Karibu sana. Ujiunge na forum hii ya utalii.
Karibuni sana.
Asante. You want to say a few words, doctor, please? Wanaona kura nyingi hawa pia kwa wafanyakazi wao. Kwa hiyo naomba nikupe.
Maybe I can say something.
Please.
Thank you so much, Your Excellency, Minister, Tourism, Honorable Kombo. I would just like to present the name of Dr. Hussein Mwinyi in front of you to give all supports, because he's going to be our candidate for the presidency of Zanzibar and the chairman of the Unfortunate Council of Zanzibar. That's point number one. And number two is that Chama Cha Mapinduzi has its manifesto and it stipulates very clearly that it's going to make ease policies, regulations, and everything so that Zanzibar can be very friendly on this noble tourism industry. And we will give all supports and guide the government so that it's going to be a very fruitful and prosperous industry in the future. The last one is that I consider all the points which have been given in the two lectures, not by the minister, the others, that we take them on board and we work together. Welcome to Zanzibar, stay cool in Zanzibar, and give support to Chama Cha Mapinduzi because we believe that it's the only party which can go forward and bring prosperous to Zanzibarians, Tanzania, and the global in future. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Thank you, Deputy Secretary General Dr. Abdallah Juma Sadallah Mabodi, for your kind words. I'm sure you agree with him because I agree with all what he said. And you have a lot of employees there. Please have a nice word with them for our party, to vote our candidate, Dr. Hussein Mwinyi. Please don't forget that. And to vote for this all the candidates all the positions, President of the Union, Members of Parliament, Members of the House of Representatives, and also councillors to CCM. Thank you very much. Now, a very big round of applause to Dr. Hussein Mwinyi, because it's time for him to speak to you. I know you have been eagerly waiting to hear. Some of you didn't want to ask questions before he speaks, but you have been waiting for that opportunity. I'm glad you managed to ask all your questions, your contributions, etc. And I'm sure, being an eloquent speaker, I know him quite well, he will take all the challenges, and I'm sure you are going to leave to the group photo, all of us smiling together. And after that, I will request the guy who is very important for us all, the guy who organized all this today, Mr. Hussein, another Mr. Hussein, to come and give vote of thanks. I think it's unfair for me, after speaking all this time, to come again for the vote of thanks. I would like to have an honor to him directly to give vote of thanks, because he started with a very good entrance, so I want also him to provide the best ending. A very big round of applause to Dr. Hussein Mwinyi. Welcome, Your Excellency. All the audience is eagerly waiting to hear from you. Thank you very much.
Minister Mahmoud David Kombo, Mr. Javed, Mr. Hussein, manager and our host of the hotel, friends, ladies and gentlemen, good evening. Let me start by saying, I'm sure you are all here today to learn from us what you should expect in the next government. Usually when we are campaigning, we would go around asking people to vote for us. But this is not the reason I'm here today. I'm here today to listen to the challenges facing this industry. I know for a fact that most of you are wondering what it will be like, what sort of policies you should expect in the next phase government. So the reason I'm here is, first of all, to get to know your challenges, but secondly, to give you an overview or my vision of what you should expect in the next phase government if we win, that is. So I want to thank Mr. Javed for listing the 10 important challenges that the industry is facing. And he was very clear, and I'm very much conversant with most of these because I've been visiting the hotels in Zanzibar. He started with the question of security. And he was saying that we need more security to what we have right now. This is something that I understand. Security should be #1 priority if you want to build a strong tourism industry. We will work into this by what I call special tourist police force. I think we need to do more here, and I think it is possible to make sure that we increase the level of security for the tourists who are visiting Zanzibar. Secondly, he was speaking about access to utilities, and that includes power, water, and roads. I beg your pardon, power and water. I've been to some of these hotels. I've seen when the investors have to find out their own sources of water. Some of the investors have to deal with the power company for so long to get power into their hotels. I've gone to some hotels where if you want to reach there, you have to endure the roads that lead to the hotel. And all these are not good for the industry. So one of the areas that I'm going to work on would be to make available all the utilities that are required for the investors, rather than asking the investors to do that on their own selves. The question of environment, particularly waste management, is an issue. How do we conserve our coral reefs? And so on. So in this area, I've been meeting a lot of fishermen around. And one of the problems that they were telling me was that they are finding it very difficult to navigate beyond where there is conservation because of the fact that they don't have the proper equipment to do that. Now, in order for us to be successful in this industry, we need to know that there is tourism, there is fishermen, and there is conservation. We need to work together to find solutions to those problems. And I think solutions are there. And I want to thank our presenter today here, who made it very clear that in order for tourism to prosper, you need to be able to take care of the local indigenous population. Then the question of education of our people here, for them to be able to be employed in these hotels. I've heard them, I've listened to them, and they're saying tourism at the moment is not doing much for our prosperity because we can't even get jobs. And I have been emphasizing, and I know that hotels need skilled labor, they need skilled workers. So there's no question that if we work together, the government and the investors, to make sure that we educate our population. End of the day, we don't want those surrounding the hotels to be unemployed. It's very important for us all to work together to make sure that they get the employment. Everybody's happy. The hotel is happy, the surrounding population is happy, and that's what we all need. I think that is what we should aim at. Then the question of ZIPA, the Investment Promotion Authority, not being efficient enough. I've heard this over and over and over again. It is not a one-stop center. And we believe in order to be able to attract investors, we need to make this authority very, very efficient. So one of my promises to investors is that we are going to work very hard to make sure that ZIPA becomes extremely efficient. Then there's the question of accountability to serve the industry by government officials. There have been some issues, and maybe I don't want to go into details of this, but one thing that I can promise investors is that we are going to work on accountability of all government workers so that we don't have the problems that are currently existing. All in all, I'll come back to this at a later stage. Then the question of quality rather than quantity, I want to agree with you that we need to go for high-value tourism. in order for us to be able to conserve the environment and so on. So if we work together on this, I'm sure we will achieve what all of us think is best for Zanzibar. Opening Pemba Island, as we were told, absolutely. We want to open Pemba Island, but how do we do that? We should do that after learning the mistakes we made in Unguja. That way, we'll make sure that only the best goes to Pemba. So, these were the challenges that were put forward by Mr. Javed, and I believe these challenges face all of you. One thing I want to say is my main priority is growing Zanzibar economy. And I keep saying that Zanzibar economy is the blue economy. Top on the list of blue economy is tourism. There will be fishing industry, absolutely. There will be oil and gas. We are lucky to have that here as well. But we want industries as well. So, under my current manifesto is that blue economy is what we are going for in a big way. So we regard all of you as partners. We have to work together. Particularly for this particular group, we are talking about tourism. So how best can we work together to make tourism beneficial for both of us? Investors on your part, but the government and the people of Zanzibar on the other part. What are my expectations? One, I need employment for my people. We have to work together. It's not good enough to say that these people are not skilled and we leave it at that. The government will put resources, the investors will collaborate with us. End of the day, we want to make our people get the skills that are required, but we need to employ them. Otherwise, it will be very difficult for investors to come to Zanzibar, keep on investing in big hotels and so on, but the general population is not benefiting. That is not good for anyone. So I want you to be our partners, to make sure that we work together to make our population employable in these hotels. Secondly, we are expecting market for our products. The people are doing a lot of agriculture, they are doing livestock, they are doing so many things, and they are looking for markets. Is the standard correct? Probably not. Again, we should not leave it at that. Let's work together, the investors and the government, to make sure that the people get proper standards for them to be able to sell to these hotels. And thirdly, how do we get prosperity for our people in the tourism industry? We have to be able to have a proper regulation on local content. Let's agree on what needs to be done by the investors and what could be done by the Zanzibaris. In that way, we will get our people to prosper, because then there'll be things for them to do and get benefit of this booming tourism in Zanzibar. You might ask me, how about the investors' needs? Well, I know them. One is the question of bureaucracy. We will work to eliminate, or at least to minimize, what is now a very, very stiff bureaucracy. I know issues of permits, licenses, it can take very long time, and that's not good for investment. We will work on this. The question of corruption, I want to assure you, we will come with zero tolerance on corruption. But the most important thing is dialogue. We need to communicate. most of the time, so many things have got solutions. The only problem is people do not sit down and talk. We need to dialogue. We need to sit down and communicate most of the time through different fora. End of the day, we want to achieve what is best for both sides, the investors and the local population. So if you ask me, what should you expect for the next government if we win? There's a Labour Party slogan in the UK that says it will only get better. And that is what I'm telling you. We are going to work with you to make sure that we develop this industry. We are going to work with you to make sure that we are eliminating all these challenges that you are facing currently. In the end, we need you to prosper, but our Zanzibar population should see the benefits of having tourism in their country. To conclude my remarks, I want to take this opportunity once again to thank you all. We are now in election time. I want to assure you that we are working very hard to make sure that we maintain the security situation in this country. Please send information to your clients that it's going to be secure in Zanzibar. There's no problem at all. I know that we are facing the COVID-19 issue right now, and most of you are affected by it, but we are looking forward. Some of you said that let's take this as an opportunity. And we are looking forward that once this problem passes, we will have a very vibrant tourism sector in Zanzibar in the new phase government. I thank you all.
Asante sana. Asante sana. What a wonderful speech. I think everybody in this hall is very happy, is very satisfied for what you have said. And inshallah, you are going to be our president. And with all our support, that as Mheshimiwa Mahmoud Thabit said, give us the support from your staffs, from your friends, from your to get this election win for Mr. Blue Economy. And I have nothing more to say. Just I want to thanks for your precious time you spent with us. I know you had